Hello, and welcome to Practical Intuition with Kay. I am Kay. Welcome, welcome. It's great to see you and be with you. I am a coach, I'm an artist, I'm a good listener, and I am inviting you on the adventure. Come along on a very fun ride. That's kind of how I feel about life these days, is it's a very fun ride, and I'm glad to have you with me. Um, Happy New Year. This is the first episode of 2024. And I today we'll see how quick am I, right? Typically, but we'll see how quickly this goes today. But I wanted to share two tools with you to start, for a good year, for to to keep the good feelings of a new fresh year throughout 2024, throughout any future year. And it's really interesting because these are things that I have created in my life, and or I suppose these are the things that have been really supportive and helpful as I have created this life that I'm living. It's not without its challenges, and at the same time it's really fun, and I want that for you too. I really, really do. I think it's a lot of fun when we're on this ride together. So I need to make sure that like this is recording and it's doing it in yes, it's doing it in a good way that isn't going to be too loud for my wonderful mixers. And I think I want to share the first of these with you. And if you're watching, you may already know what one of them is because I chose to wear today. I have a really dear friend, someone I've known for decades now, who we used to be roommates actually, and her name is Jen. She's very dear to me, and she uh, is a photographer, a wonderful, wonderful photographer. And part of her work in photography is at this awesome Renaissance fair in Connecticut. And she's sort of she's the senior leadership, or she is on the senior leadership team now of this Renaissance fair, and she has everything that she creates is just amazing and beautiful. And what I am wearing on my head is a garland of flowers that I got at the Renaissance Fair the last time that I was there. It happened to be the year that the now 26-time winner of the Husband of the Year award and uh, it was the year of our 25th anniversary, and I have such good memories of being at the fair that day. Just such fun, and it's a really celebratory atmosphere, and with lots of joyful adventures. And Jen, and she had Ben and I sit for our what she called our royal portrait, and I still have this wonderful picture that she took of the two of us all dressed in like regal finery, sort of like a Renaissance era regal finery. And yeah, it's anyway, so this garland of flowers, I wanted to mark the new year in a playful way. So I decided that I would share it with you today. And it the reason I bring it up in the with the first tool is because the first tool is my word of the year. So it's interesting. I think last year I ended up not ever actually choosing a word of the year. Um, but every year prior to that for 7 or 8 years now, I've chosen a word of the year. They've been things like service, and I remember that was one year. Magic or magical was one year. Um, one year it was, in fact, this was the COVID year. It was enough. I chose the word enough, and I meant it as like a sort of I am enough, I have enough. It's these really wonderful positive things, and it ended up being like enough already. So words of the year are really, really interesting, and they are always insightful. And last year, well, when I think back to a year ago, so I had just sustained a head injury, rock climbing, and I was in the middle of a very interesting period of growth, so that I was basically growing into the person who could walk across northern England on foot all by myself. And that is what I did. I did that in May of 2023. Um, what's a good week? What's a good word of the year for 2023. Like I actually think it was three. It was joyful, patient, presence. That is those are my words for 2023 because that's really how I learned to live. I am currently working on a memoir. I'm working on a new book, and it's called Waking Up, and that's something that my 19-year-old complimented me on a little less than a year ago. He told me that to him it seemed as if I was waking up, and at the time I didn't really get it. And on reflection, I really do get it. I was not awake a year ago, and in a lot of important ways. And so this book that I'm working on it's a combination of art, my art, and some essays and a little bit of poetry that I've been working on now. Probably, I would say I've been writing this book, for many months. And it's coming out within the next couple months. So as you're hearing this, it's January. If you're hearing it in real time when it comes out, I'm actually on a writing retreat as you're hearing this. And I am planning to have the book out in the world and available in April. So April 2024. And it feeds into, I guess, this moment because my 2024 word of the year is enjoyment. Enjoyment. Like I sort of feel like I was playing with time with some colleagues of mine, and I just at the end of 2023, and I took us through a little time traveling, and we went to the end of 2023, and we talked about what that year was for us, and for me it was flying the nest. That was how I thought of 2023, was the year that I flew the nest. And then when we zoomed all the way through 2024 and we got to the end of it and we were looking back, um, it was really interesting to look back and see that 2024 was the year that I just relaxed and enjoyed myself. I really, really enjoyed myself. And so I'm bringing that into whatever I'm creating. I mean, it's meant a whole different way of making stuff. So I've written books before. One of them is still available. It's on Amazon. It's called Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics, and um, it was a really helpful book for a lot of people. I did enjoy writing it somewhat. I had a lot of I attached a lot of emotion to the success or not success of that book, and um, so it's definitely learning. And so this is going to be um, the whole way that this book is being created and is being shared with the world is very different, and it is such enjoyment. I mean, it really is. And why do I like when I think about what the reason I wanted to bring you this very powerful tool of choosing a word of the year is because it sets the tone for the whole year. I mean, it really does. If we allow it to, like if we have it sort of in our back pocket when we need it, instead of like allowing it to get buried in a back box in the corner of the basement somewhere, um, it can be a really powerful tool for creating what we want in the world. And I think that's really what today's episode is about, is like what are the mechanisms by which we can really create what we want. And the one that works best for me is to choose a direction and then take very joyful, very sometimes very small steps, but always taking steps towards, like, daily steps towards the direction that I want to go. And yeah, enjoyment for me feels like a large part of that uh, direction. So I would like and here's how I decided on a word of the year. Because I think in the past for me it had been really difficult to choose with just one word. Um, it felt like a lot. It felt like a lot of pressure, and I think that is what I would invite you to do if you are choosing a word of the year, is to let the pressures dissipate. Acknowledge them, understand that they're there, but then just allow it to just be, you know, your heart that decides, for example, or your intuition that brings you to the place where you'll know. what that word is for you. And then just enjoy the feelings of like what the opportunities are when you are looking at that word and when you're thinking about that word, or when you call that word to mind, what are the feelings in your body, right? That's how you'll know when you're getting close to your word. And if you've already chosen a word of the year, oh, that's awesome. I'd love to hear from any of you who are in the process of this, and I'd love to hear what your word was. So the letter K at klockculp.com is my email address if you want to email me. And then the other place that I am a lot is Instagram, and I'm at We Turned Out OKAY there. Come and find me. It's a really fun word that we live in. So, okay, so here actually it'll end up being 3 tools because I'm going to share. There's this really wonderful little booklet that I learned of in 2022 that I've now done for the second time. It's called Year Compass, and it is a way to celebrate the year that just happened and plan the year that is coming. And I like the experience of, so what I did this time was I wrote, and drew all about 2023 as it was before I went back and looked at what I had hoped it would be, or what the year that I quote created was. And then I designed, I planned and prepared. Well, prepared is not the right word. I prepared to be open to what could happen in 2024. And I think maybe what I've done is I've created the direction that I want to go in 2024. So last year at the end of 2022, I did that for 2023. And now I'm in a place where I can see both what direction I wanted to go in 2023 and what actually happened. And I'm now creating what I want for 2024. And so there's this one, and it's yearcompass.com. So you can find it if you want to do this. It's such a cool little tool. I mean, a couple hours and some fun reflective thinking and like, I don't know, it makes my heart sing. That's the other thing, is I've decided to go in directions that sing to me. I know they'll be the right ones. So I had the absolutely wild moment of looking at, once I had created the part of the book, or written in and drew in the part of the booklet that is about what was 23 actually like. I went back and looked at what the direction that I had wanted to go in 2023 was. And so one of the things I noticed that I wrote, there's a page on which you are sort of setting goals for the coming year. And you do this in different areas. So family, personal, um, work and learning, kind of exploration and stuff like that. And one of them is family and communication, something like that. One of them is, I think it's actually called family and communication, which seems like 2 funny things to have in the same little box, but I think that's what they were. Anyway, what that sparked for me when I was creating 2023 before it had happened, one of the things I wrote in that box is I would like to expand my community in 2023. And then I get to the part where I'm reflecting on 2023, like it's already happened and now I'm looking back on it. And in the corresponding box for the year that just happened, here's what I wrote. And I still can't, like, looking at these 2 things together, I completely forgot that I had written that I wanted to expand my community in 2023. Like, totally forgotten that I put these things away and did not look at them for 12 months. So I get to the end of, I get to the point where I'm doing Year Compass. This is like this week, because I'm recording this at on the 3rd of January. So for the last week or so, I've been taking half an hour at a time, and just enjoying my Year Compass. So I see that a year ago, I wrote, I want to expand my community in 2023. And then what I wrote in the corresponding space this year was, the universe became my community in 2023. And right? The universe became my community in 2023. Like that's certainly an expansion. And it's really how I feel. Like I feel like I live in a world now where everyone is amazing and everyone uh, is a friend. Like, and I don't mean that in a like I'm not putting myself in unsafe situations or something like that. I think I've expanded my understanding of 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 safety and what really makes me feel safe. And my default is to always expect from someone um, that they will respect and that they will respect me as much as I do them and come from a place of care. Like I just that is my default. And I'm thinking about there's a wonderful book called Grandma Gatewood's Walk. See, this is why these episodes are never like 10 minutes, right? I'm so glad you're here with me. It's very fun to be able to collaborate like this because this does feel like a shared created space to me. So there's a book called Grandma Gatewood's Walk. And Grandma Gatewood was the nickname. I'm sure like I don't remember what her first name was, but she's known to history as Grandma Gatewood. She through hiked the Appalachian Trail in like 1950 or 1957 or something like that in the 50s. And she was like 65 years old when she did it for the first time. And she was the first woman to through hike it. And there had been very few people at all, but she was the first female to do that. And um, on the Appalachian Trail, while she was doing it, she'd been doing it for many months. She'd gotten all the way up into sort of like New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and at the time of year that she was there, and in that particular year, there was massive like rainstorms and hailstorms and flooding, and she kept going through all of that. The Appalachian Trail, by the way, is like a 2,000-mile long trail that runs from Virginia or West Virginia up to Maine. And there are some shelters and places to stay, but most of the time you're in a tent, you are under a tarp, you're on your own, there's not a lot of like connection with towns or cities or whatever when you're hiking the Appalachian Trail. So Grandma Gatewood had figured all that out. And there was even less of that when she was doing it. Um, Less connection with like society, you know what I mean? Um, and she just kept going through so much you know, crazy stuff. So anyway, there's these huge rainstorms uh and there's a river that she wants to cross forward, I guess. And there's two parts of this, and I'm not sure if I'll get them exactly right chronologically, but she comes across a group of fellow hikers. It was a an adult and several teens. And uh, they were from New York City, and that was all she knew about them. They were very multiculturally diverse. They were, uh, yeah, these kids from New York, and their chaperone, who we learn happens to be a minister priest. Um, and there's one point where they're trying to get across this river, or she's trying to get across this river, and she ends up not being able to do it. So, and what we are learning about this all from is her journals. Like she was writing about this stuff as it was happening, or soon after it happened. And so they invite her, since she can't cross, to stay with them. And they were really inspired by this old woman, 60-something-year-old woman that they certainly the teens perceived her as old, right? And just that she was doing this all by herself. And she in turn was really enjoying their company. Like they had a good time together. They shared food. I feel like they were able to have a fire. Like they were together and they were safe. There was safety in that for her. Okay. And then either this happened before or after. They did eventually help her cross that river, um, handing her like her bag. She'd made this bag for herself to sling over her shoulder, and they're sort of hand over hand getting that to the other side, and then helping her. This is felt like maybe the one place on this trail where there was not a way to cross because of the floods stages of it without help. So most of the time she did everything. Like she was flinging her bag from cliff to cliff in what's called the wilderness, the 100-mile wilderness area of the Appalachian Trail up in New Hampshire. So as she got further away from these folks. So anyway, she goes along and completes her through hiking, and is like sort of famous. She actually becomes quite famous for this. And later on, she discovers that these teens and the priest, the minister that had chaperoned them to come out into the wilderness, these were kids from rival gangs in New York who had like who were really caught up in a tremendous amount of violence against each other. Each gang was being wicked violent against the other gang. And the minister had brought them out into the woods together to see if he couldn't help them figure out a nonviolent way, figure out how to make peace with each other. And that's like Grandma Gatewood had no idea about any of that. She saw young people that she could engage with and their chaperone. And it's coming up for me right now because when my default is that the universe is my community because it is full of people who I expect will treat me well. And I am always going to come from a place of integrity in terms of treating them well, and with a lot of respect and a lot of love. That's what happens. Like we humans, our conditioning very often puts can make us believe things about other people, whether they're true or not. And being able to sort of let that bias go and just see the human in front of me and be happy that they're here with me in this moment, that's what I mean when I say that the universe is my community. So and it was my own reflection, obviously, but it was really fun to see this reflected in this tool, Year Compass. Um, yeah, thank you for listening. So yeah, tool number one, choose a word of the year and return to it often, because a word of the year um, reflects our dreams, reflects where we want to go, reflects our direction. And I'd love to hear how it goes if you do that. And then the second tool is Year Compass. Yearcompass.com. You can download a booklet that will that you can fill out on the computer, or that you can print out on a printer and have it to play with and write and stuff like that. That was the other thing about this year was I am now taking such good care of myself that I was able to write and draw throughout this whole booklet. I use both hands because I learned how to do that. Longtime listeners will know or might know that I have a tendon condition that started for me in 2011, and um, in 2014 I lost the ability to use my hands almost entirely because my thumb tendons kind of went, and I still on a good day. Well, for years, what if I'm assessing what's been happening is I've had maybe 50% use of my hands on a good day. And I would say that the way I think about it now is I probably have a little more than that, but I choose very wisely what I'm doing with my hands. And I'm asking for help for the things that I used to think had to be mine to do. So like things I didn't want to do, but that I felt had to be mine because I was the only one who could do them right, or I was the one who, it sort of fell to because everybody else was off doing their things. And my thinking has totally changed on that. And I was able to write and draw throughout this whole book in over a couple of days, um, without hand pain. Like and not only, I mean, I was painting, right? I was doing some of the other joyful things that I love to do, but my body has completely surpassed my expectations this year in a really beautiful way. So, yeah, yearcompass.com, choose your word of the year. And then the third tool, so I'm looking over this way if you're watching, at something that I made in 2020. it was 2020 that I made this, and it's a vision board. So vision boarding, I've always thought of it until like yesterday, until January the 2nd. I've always thought of vision boarding as a like something that you make, and the making of it is what sets your direction. Like, because what are you putting on your vision board? You're putting on it what you want to bring about in the world, right? What you want to create or be a part of, or do, or whatever. Like, it's the most motivating things are the things that you put on your vision board, right? And I made this vision board in the summer of 2020. I remember I was sitting, we were socially distanced. It was me and my like five best friends from life. We've known each other since we were 12. We call ourselves the badass ladies of Ashland High School because that's where we went to high school. And I made this vision board. And the thing that is absolutely wild to me is I pulled it out the other day because I create a podcast called Where in the World is Andrew Moss? And I think this hasn't happened yet as I'm recording this episode, but I will talk to him in the next couple of weeks when he comes into a port called Airlie Beach, Australia. So he is circumnavigating the globe in a sailing race in a 70-foot sailing boat. There's no motor power. They're doing it all the forces of like Mother Nature and their own use of sails and steering, helming, and stuff like that. So it's been so interesting to listen to and witness Andrew's journey. My very good friend, colleague, Andrew Moss is who this is about. And I understand that a number of years ago, Andrew created a vision board, and in the middle of that vision board was a sailboat, and here he is circumnavigating the globe. I just almost dropped an F-bomb, but I stopped myself. I'm very proud of myself. In a sailing race like this, he made that vision board years ago, and here he is doing the thing at the center of the vision board. So like I got to thinking, like, what was at the center of that vision board that I made in 2020? What was that? And so I guess, well, the other reason that this came up for me is because I'm going to teach a couple of workshops with another beloved colleague of mine. And we've decided that it's a workshop on creativity. And we've decided that what we're going to do is invite our participants to create vision boards. And this is something she's really skilled at. She's a college professor. In fact, we'll be doing this for her college students. And she has this real belief, this rock solid belief in all of her work that that vision boards, it isn't just while you're sitting there making the vision board that it's effective, right? That what it does is you can look back years later and go, oh, there's that thing that I wanted that came true. Oh, there's that thing. Like, so I got to thinking, but all this kind of swirling around in my head, I got to thinking, like, what was at the center of that vision board? And what happened about it? You know what I mean? So I went and found, this is really funny too. I literally have not looked at this vision board in years. It became, in fact, at one point on the back side of it is a painting that I made that is too big to go anywhere else. So I taped the painting to the back of this vision board and covered it up with some stuff called glassine paper so that it's um, protected. And I turned the vision board like into painting storage. And I haven't looked at it since. So I went and I was like, where is that? So it turned out it was behind the piano in our basement, right in my art studio. Um, we have a music studio for our kids, and then my art stuff is there as well. And I pulled it out, and I just dusted it off. Basically, I laughed because I'd forgotten that I used it to store this painting on the back of. Like, it's been so long since I've had any connection with this vision board, like, at all. And right at the center of it is a I'm feeling emotional. Right at the center of it is a quote from the Adventure Zone Balance Arc, which again, longtime listeners will know that the Adventure Zone is one of the shows that is maybe the show that helped me enjoy myself and feel uh, good or okay in a time in my life where I really didn't, and that was when I didn't have the use of my hands. And that, I mean, over years, like for it was years that I had very, very, very little use of my hands, and I sort of slowly built it up after about maybe 2015, 2016, 2017 was where I started to be able to have maybe 20% use of my hands. I mean, like it's been a really interesting existence without hands, without operational hands. And to, the gratitude I feel to be able to have built that back into my life is feels really good. So, and Taz Balance, the Adventure Zone, the balance arc of the Adventure Zone is called, I'm thinking of it as Taz Balance, was essential in that. It took me out of myself. These three comedians and their dad, their brothers, and then their dad are making this. It's basically a live role playing podcast. And for the first arc, they used um, Dungeons and Dragons. So they're playing Dungeons and Dragons together. These four grown up people, and it's just such. They just have such love that comes through in all the silliness. There's so many F-bombs. It's so raunchy. And that really, really appealed to me too. And I just needed that. I needed something that wasn't like serious and broken. And this was just hilarious and fun and had so much heart. So the first arc, the balance arc, went on for probably, oh, I don't know, 4 years, maybe something like that. And there's all these adventures that our heroes, Taco Magnus and Merle, go on together. And Griffin, well, Taco Magnus and Merle are the characters made by the dad and two of the brothers. And then the other brother, Griffin, is the dungeon master. So he's the one making the whole world and all the adventures that they go on. And like it is just, it was mind blowing what, like, you know, the world that he created and the things that happened. And oh man, it is such a great story. I'd return to it sometimes too. And um at the very end, like the last episode, we're getting into the last few minutes of this arc. um the narrator, who is Griffin, but it's not him playing himself, it's like the narrator of this world basically says the following: even happier days were to come, because that was the world that you made. That was the ending you earned. That's what I put in the middle of my vision board. It's like it takes up a good third of the vision board, those words. And it is really, really, really interesting to look at that now and see how I did create that for myself, and how creating for myself um, a, a good the service and the love and the positive thinking, the space for someone to, as a, in my coaching work, what I really create is a space for someone so that they can meet themselves. And and understand themselves and reach for what they really want in the world. And when I create art, like, uh, there's a feeling there of um, enjoyment and interest and curiosity. The things I create, it turns out, they're very colorful. They're very impressionistic and fun, and like the subject matter, just the choices of things that I create. Like, it's really lovely to have those thoughts reflected back to me on something that I create. And as I say, I didn't even know this quote. I forgot about it. I forgot that it was on my vision board. Even happier days were to come because that was the world that you made. That was the ending you earned. And I think I love it too because it's also playing with time, right? Like I can be sitting here at the beginning of 2024 and understand that there are still happier days to come because this is the world that we're making. And I could never have imagined looking at this vision board and seeing all the ways that it's come true that I didn't even know could be possible when I made the vision board. And I think I really want to stay there, right? And ask you, like, what? Well, first of all, I think the first question is if you were going to make a vision board, you don't even have to do it, but say you were, what would be the thing in the middle of it? Right? What's your sailboat? What's your important message for yourself for the future? I have another colleague whose vision board had a giant Buddha in the middle of it, and the adventures that they've gone on since have very much had to do um, with retreats in Buddhist monasteries and you know knowing themselves in a way that they hadn't before and learning about themselves with this central idea of like what are the Buddhists tenets, what are the ideas that Buddhism brings to the world, and um whatever it is in the center of your vision board, uh that's really something to pay attention to, and then to be able to reflect after a year or several years or whatever have gone by. um you didn't even have to be looking at it. You didn't even have to know where it was in your in your stuff, right? Like in your home, to have it still happening inside of you. So I wanted to share too, there are some other things on this vision board that are very telling for me right now. Like um one that comes to mind is there's an ice cream cone. In the summer of 2020, I stuck an ice cream cone on my vision board. And I one of the I would say to date the best ice cream cone I've ever had was this past May in 2023. I was hiking across northern England on the Coast to Coast Path, and which is a very I won't I've done several episodes on this, and I invite you to go back and listen to them. I've tried to share what I learned about myself and my learning um, after this trek, and for I would love to hear if any of that has resonance for you. And right now, I want to take you into this moment. So, I was about halfway across. I was staying. My rest day I chose in a little tiny village called Reeth, um, and I chose it because it is sort of connected to James Herriot, who the guy he was a large animal veterinarian who lived and worked all of his adult life in Yorkshire the Yorkshire Dales, which is where Reeth is. And the reason that I wanted to cross the coast to coast path in the first place was because I wanted to be able to be in the places where I've read so lovingly described in James Herriot's work and feel kind of close to him. You know what I mean? He was such a wonderful, wonderful man, um, and he writes so beautifully. I would highly recommend reading his stuff. And so on my rest day in Reeth, I got up. I was like, I'm in Reeth. I can't believe this is so exciting. And I took my pastels and some paper, and I went out to the common, which I was staying on the common. So we're talking like this is 10 steps away from my door or something like that. I found a bench that I wanted to sit on, and I looked around, and before I decided to sit down, I noticed that there was like an ice creamery on the common, and I was like, well, let's go see what that's about. And these folks like make all their own ice cream, and everything is in this beautiful old stone buildings, and um, it's just such an incredible. And the just sitting on the common in Reeth, and you can see the dale spread out before you because you're pretty high up in Reeth. Oh my gosh, it was just so beautiful. I plein air painted there. I sat there and made a painting. And when I look at it, I am absolutely brought right back into that moment. And when I painted the painting, I had just finished an ice cream with that was the flavor honeycomb. It was honeycomb ice cream in a waffle cone. Oh my God, it was so good. I love ice cream. Like, and what's beautiful now is I look at that on my vision board and I see that I love ice cream from a calm place inside myself. I don't use ice cream or any other food to give me comfort when I am feeling unsettled or upset. Instead, I don't do that from an emotional place anymore. I just genuinely enjoy nourishing food and when I'm hungry. And in that moment, experiencing that moment with that ice cream was like amazing. So that's something that's on my vision board. There is a beautiful sort of like hut or home or inn um, up set up high in some mountains somewhere, and you can see all there's like these beautiful rock formations that you can see, and you can see way off into the distance all the mountains and the beautiful sky. That's on there. There's a lot of flowers. I love lavender and other herbs. There is I think this is really interesting. So I have a thing about, well, I mean, rocks at their heart. Like, my beautiful colleague Liz Parkin has said to me, and I took this into my heart. She said, if you think about it, the moon is a really big rock. Like, what is the moon but a really big rock? And I think that's so fun because, right? Like, um, I have a thing about the moon, and the moon is a really big rock. So also on my trip to England, I did get to just be with and stand near and just witness these incredible standing stones from 6,000 years ago. They were put in place. And that was amazing. And I stood in this archway that was basically this ruined doorway. Like the only thing that was left of this building made of rocks was the doorway. And I went and stood in the doorway, and that is where I was. And that, I share a little bit more about this in those episodes I was telling you about where I share about my trip across England. But anyway, um, I think the significance of that doorway in this moment for me is that like human beings have been so creative in figuring out ways to shelter ourselves, ways to like just tools and things that we've created to celebrate our world, to feel safe, to feel nourished, to understand, you know, the workings of the world. And on my vision board is a very old-fashioned sort of uh, time. I think it was a way of keeping time called oh, I might not get this right. A sun disk, maybe? I can't remember. Isn't this funny? Anyway, it's this sundial. That's what they're called. It's a sundial because you can see the time based on or you can have an understanding of where in the day you are based on where the sun is reflecting on this little sundial. So that's like I would never have put together that the reason there's a sundial on there is because I have a real curiosity about and love for how humans have always done, made their world and gained understanding of their world. So there's that. There's a lighthouse. I am such a fan of lighthouses, and there's a beautiful picture of like the Milky Way. And there's an expression in that particular part of the vision board from Audrey Hepburn, and the expression is nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. And like these are the things that uh, you know, it's all outdoors. I mean, not quite all of it, but like, there are the words, the power of play. The word joy is on here. There's a really lovely picture of Fred Rogers with his feet in a swimming pool with Officer Francois Clemens on his show, and they're just both laughing and smiling, and there's just such love and care in that image. And there is, if you've ever listened to Taz Balance, I put a picture of Geralt the unicorn on here. Like Actually, he's not a unicorn, he's a bicorn. But anyway, his name's Garrel and he's really fun. Um, I like what is reflected on my vision. The only thing I would say that I was not, that isn't reflected in my vision board, that is really important to me now, is my own ability to create art. And so I got to playing with the idea of like, what would be on a vision board now that I would put, what would be in the center of my vision board now? And the answer that immediately came up was Yorkshire stone. And um, so I will create a vision board and I will either that or I'll hold this in my mind, right? But like uh it is fun to be able to look at it. So maybe it'll be my own art of some lovely Yorkshire stone. Maybe it'll be one of the archway images that I made. Whatever it is, it isn't just the stone, right? It's the grass, it's the quiet, it's the mist, it's the sunshine, it's the clouds, it's the big skies, it's the creatures, it's the flowers, it's everything about like Yorkshire stone would represent all that for me. And I have no idea what will happen when I look back 4 years from now on that vision board, but I do know this, it will be really fun to see what happened. So yeah, so we're gonna, I think I'm gonna wrap up here. Well, I'm gonna start wrapping up here. um and the first thing I'm gonna do is just express my wish for your health and happiness. And may 2024 be a wonderful year in which you um, know real peace and harmony, in which you feel safe and loved, in which you get really, really good rest, lots of good sleep and other kinds of rest in your 2024 is what I'm wishing for you. And if any of these tools is helpful, I would really love to hear about it. Let me know. The letter, that is the letter K at klock.com. I'm at WeTurnedOK in Instagram. Winstagram. I wonder what that could be. Um, and I'm just wishing you well. Um, and you know what? Message me too if I can be helpful for you in some way. I'm a pretty good coach. You know what? I mean, I started off, here's why, because I'm a good listener. Um, and if there's something in your world or something on your mind that you would like to be heard on, if there's something that you want to work through, if you could use a really good listener, um, someone who just opens a caring space and then holds that for you, get in touch with me. I would love to just have a connect conversation. Um, and hear what's going on for you. These are some of my favorite kinds of conversations that I have these days, and it would be really fun to do that with you. Yeah, so happy 2024, happy new year. I hope everything that you want to come true this year, I hope comes true. And I'm sending lots and lots and love to you, lots and lots of love to you. Thank you for being here with me. As always, I have a huge thank you to to our producer, the man who has taught me how to produce these myself. So very often I'm the one doing the mixing, and it feels very empowering. And I still love to have his consultancy we get the opportunity. He is the not just that, right? Not just my podcasting dude, but he is also the 26th-time winner of the Husband of the Year award, Benjamin Culp. Um, yeah, thank you so much for listening. I will see you again in just a few weeks. I've got an episode coming out, a conversation that I think you're going to find really helpful and fun. And, you know, I'm looking forward to that too. All right. So much love to you. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.